Morning traders. So how do we trade the DAX today? So yesterday's sell-off was rather spectacular, but the bigger thing that is on the cards at the moment is we are pretty much breaking below this neckline. Okay, so if I just take the lowest point, which is this bar here on the weekly, currently we are below, but I think the important part here is we have a daily close below that level. Okay, so in some people's eyes, that activates this big head and shoulders. Okay, so let's just get back to that. You can see there's shoulder, head, shoulder. So this is a pretty strong signal for anybody that's looking for a head and shoulders move at the moment, where the DAX is going to continue moving to the downside. Okay, so really was not expecting this move to the downside. To me, we'd already broken through, and we're looking for sort of these fractal levels here. We're looking for this fractal level to hold, so this 11,947. It didn't. We broke down and we tested the break a couple of times before moving to the downside. So if you did manage to get in short on this, congrats. And yeah, there's no reason to get out just yet. Okay. So currently the futures market on the DAX is sitting at 11.5. So still down an extra, we're down an extra 0.35% at the moment. And yeah, the Nasdaq closing down 4%, lost 4% yesterday. And I have a feeling a sell-off is going to continue a little bit still. So if you're looking for longs like I have been, I think probably just carry on holding on to your money and wait for some kind of a signal. So we had a signal here, so this was a pretty good pattern to me. Okay, we didn't really have the diversion in the 4 hour, but we definitely had a nice big engulfing with an inside bar. So that was a fairly good signal. Obviously we had to break above this fractal for that to be validated, but we didn't get that. So more to the downside and no diversions at the moment. We did have a grouping here, but now we can continue moving. So I'd expect these oscillators to come and group at the bottom. Okay, so I think what we need to do here is let's just delete all of that. That is fairly significant. And then there was the previous breakout. So that, let's move across. So this high here was our previous breakout. So that is the area that I would expect something to happen. And then if that gets away, we'll move down to here. So first things first, you can see how the 200 moving average on the weekly lines up here. So 11,440 would be an area that I'd be looking at for profit taking. Okay. And then I'd also be looking for around 10,800 as another area. But the problem is if we do get down to here, that pretty much validates this head and shoulders. So you probably want to trade with this trend to the downside. Anticipate a bounce. The bounce will come back. It should find some resistance back here at the neckline of 11,680 and then continue to the downside. Okay, right now trend is down and it's pretty strong down. Okay, so that's kind of my view on this. You can see everything's grouping to the downside. So, and the buyers did step in here towards the close, but I think there's going to be another push down still. Okay, and the only reason I say that is because we've closed below this 11,688. So I would expect us another push down to come and pick up 1144, or alternatively, let me just see if there's anything else on the 4 hour. I don't recall anything. Oh, that's the first level that's given way. You see, you've got to go back so far to pick up these things. Okay, so there is a little bit. So there's an inside tail there. Okay, and then there's an inside tail there, and then there. Okay, so let's come back to here and do that. Okay, so there are your levels. So first one is 11,592. Second one is 11,537, and then the last one is 11,442. Yeah, so somewhere in this area you should expect some profit taking to happen. So the bears should start taking some profit, and you may see some value buyers starting to nibble and step in. But in my experience, when you have big sell-offs like this on the higher time frames, you need to wait for a higher time frame setup. And you can see we had a great pin bar, but basically break below and we continued to the downside. So there was a signal here, and that's why this acceleration was so good, because you had the signal on the daily. So you had people that were trying to get in early and getting their longs in with their stops staggered down here, and the stops just get triggered as the sell-off continues. Okay. So yeah, so I expect a little bit more today. I expect probably a little bit more selling. If we don't sell off aggressively, then I would expect some sort of a gentle sell-off or a consolidation. Okay, but I do expect that it's going to move. We're going to continue moving to the downside. And now these are the levels that I'll be watching. Everything is looking a little bit tired, so these are the levels that I'll be watching. Okay, so yeah, so I think advice for you this morning is wait for that first hour of trading. You can see here this first hour, and we broke below this first hour candle, and then you had the sell-off. So, and again, you can see how price action operated here. We were above the moving averages. We had a crossover, then we broke back below. So one of two things: I was expecting another breakthrough or a test. And this bar here at, when was that? At 10 o'clock South African time. That was your indication that they tried to break through, but they failed. There was another crossover of the moving average. It was a test of the break, and then the move to the downside. Okay, so there were quite a few signals telling you to get in short. And like I said yesterday, my concern was we had a warning here, and we also had the oscillators grouping and crossing. Okay, so yeah, I was expecting a pullback, but I wasn't expecting a rapid pullback. I was expecting something around either a double bottom or a 61.8 Fibonacci pullback. But anyway, that happens, that's life. Okay, so yeah, so for me, probably more downside. Gonna focus on the first hour of trading, see what happens, use that as my range, and should we break to the downside, then there will definitely be more of a sell-off. If we do break the upside, there'll probably be a short-term rally, and then possibly another attempt at the downside. Okay, so for now, trend is down, and I think we'll stick with it. Okay, these major levels have broken, so anything's possible right now. Okay, so that's my take on this at the moment. Hope it helps, and yeah, if you are short at the moment, stay safe, keep moving those stops down, use trailing stops, because anything can happen. You're getting up to a couple more levels, and all of a sudden the bulls are going to see some value somewhere along the line and start climbing in. Okay, so that's my take on this. Hope it helps, and I'll catch up with you later. Cheers for now.